It is 36 Nation Radio. I am here, your host, proud assistant of the nation, Ivan Edward Woner, sitting in for Monica Livingston, who could not be with us, unfortunately. Thank God for Thursday. That's all I can say, because I have been looking forward to saying some things to you, my friends, colleagues, loved ones around the world. And boy, oh boy, are there things to say. We've got guns, we've got shootings, we've got craziness, Black Lives Matter, we have Russia, we have refugees. The Senate is a complete cluster. And let me just say one thing to the kids listening at home. I spoke to a guy in an Uber yesterday. This is where I have the best conversations. And if you're not having conversations with your Uber driver, you need to stop, you need to call them up, you need to apologize, because you are robbing them of a lovely and exciting time. I had a conversation with my Uber driver, and I said, "You watch the news? You listen to what's going on?" And he says, "No." And I was like, "Why not? Come on, buddy." And he said, "I only care when it matters to my life." And I think that's a fair point. If this doesn't matter to you, then you shouldn't care, right? The stock market doesn't matter to you, you shouldn't care. I would like to tell you it matters. And what I'm going to do, what I'm going to try to do today and moving on, is show you just how these things that are very far away and very big, in fact, do matter to you. So we've got a lot of stuff we're going to do today. Very excited. I want to give a big shout out to the DC International School. I was there yesterday, and I had an opportunity to see their senior class award presentations. And boy, oh boy, I got to see several dozen students standing up, winning awards for GPAs, 4.5s and 4.0s, president's class, principal's class, all kinds of things. I just wanted to give them a big congratulations and rah, go get them. This is 36 Nation. It's a great time to be alive. We'll be back. 2 minutes. Bah!
Come on, hustle. Get your head in the game. Come on.
Are you setting the right example for your kids?
Are you even trying? The ball's down there. What are you doing? You need to get some confidence.
Come on, hustle up, get up there.
Reviewing last year, ad revenue has declined 15%.
Come on, get your head on straight.
Before your child's next game, ask yourself, how would you like it if they copied your behavior?
There are many ways which we can improve.
That's for sure. You need to get some confidence.
Positive Coaching Alliance has valuable tips and tools to help our kids perform their best while keeping sports enjoyable for everyone. Their development zone is a great resource for parents like us. Positive Coaching Alliance, creating better athletes, better people. Learn more at positivecoach.org/foxsports.
If you can play, you can play.
If you can play,
You can play.
If you can play, you can play.
We are all
champions.
We are all
Red Hawks.
Red Hawk.
For life.
Our staff, coaches, and student athletes welcome students of all races, religions, genders, sexual orientation, and national origin. We advocate and support the LGBTQ community.
We play.
Together.
We win together.
If you can play,
You can play.
At Montclair State University, if you can play, you can play.
if you can play, you can play.
If you can play, you can play.
Have you heard about this Florida shooting? If you have not, turn on the news, people. It's the 18th mass shooting that we have had since January 1st. 18 in less than 2 months. We are going for a record, friends. Last year was a great year. If you were on the over-under for mass shootings, we had 347, which is almost one a day, but not enough. Friends, I think we're I think we're going to hit the target this year. I think we can do one a day. If we keep things up, it's going to be fantastic. I don't know if you guys saw that. Ted Cruz says we need to reserve judgment. We don't know what happened or if there was anything that could be done to prevent this. Thank God somebody with a clear head is saying we need to figure out if there was anything that could have been done to prevent this. You know, there's a lot of things that have been done. I don't know if you guys have been following. So we've got guns in the hands of children. That's a law that could have been passed, that could have been changed, so that wouldn't have happened. We've got children who are hanging out in neo-Nazi chat rooms learning how to do military-style trainings online. One of the people in his chat group called him pretty efficient. I don't want to say I'm advocating, but he seemed to know what he was doing. That's what his comrade in chat said about how well he was able to go through and shoot up these kids at his high school, which is terrifying. So we have this. We have online training being done to American citizens, radicalizing them so that they will go off and kill the people that they don't like, specifically the feminist cancer, as they put it, and the Jews. I don't know what the thing about the Jews is. I have tried to understand for a very long time all of the hatred. I get hatred towards black people, right? I see it. It comes at me. They're like, you, and I'm like, that's true. I get why you hate. If you see the world as I am here and you are below me, and that's the way the world should be run, and no black people should ever be anything more than it. Like, I get it. Fine. You want to kill them. But in my mind, the Jews are Europeans, aren't they? Is that not right? Right? Like, this isn't even like a race thing. You just pick people to hate, to try to kill. You guys got some issues. I don't know. I don't want to say anything, but I'm gonna say something. Anyway, there's nothing that we could do. Apparently, our Congress people are taking money from those who are defending those who are taking these guns and going out and shooting children, which is great. I saw a funny meme. I don't know if you saw this. It said maybe we should change the name school. Maybe we should call it uterus instead. Then Republicans would want to save the lives that are being massacred inside. Anyway. So there's that. There are a lot of things that we can do. And honestly, I'm torn, okay? We have a clear and present danger in this country. We have children going outside of their homes to places where they are supposed to be protected by the government in our schools, and they are being shot. That is a problem. That cannot happen. That has to stop. Now, I get people like their rights. There is a right to arms. There is a right to speech. There is a right to association. There is a way, I fundamentally believe this. There is a way that we can preserve your rights and not let children be massacred in middle school or high school. I don't think those two things are contradictory. You know what I think is contradictory is someone who comes to me and says, you know, this whole gun problem, let's not look at it. Let's not study it. Let's not find a solution. You know who's saying that is the NRA. They've actually passed laws. They've had laws passed, I'll say it correctly. They've had laws passed preventing any money going to researching any aspect of how to reduce the number of children being massacred. What the? I'm sorry, I'm calm. We're going to talk about a lot of fun things today. So if you haven't seen Florida, it's great. One of the things that I'm very pleased about is I don't know. Is it inappropriate for me to chalk this one up to the DT, to the big man down on Pennsylvania Avenue? The young shooter certainly seemed to think that he was inspired by Mr. Trump. He certainly seemed to think that he was in the process of making America great again. Maybe. Cruz's mother died in November of the flu. He was adopted as an infant. He's had a rough life. Adopted, his father died when he was 4. He was diagnosed as autistic around 11. You know, it's funny. I read somewhere that he was autistic, and that's why he did this. And I read somewhere else, the president just vetoed the law banning people with mental health issues from having guns. Come on. I'm calm. I'm fine. I'm not just going to yell today. We're going to have some love. Here's the thing. And when I say here's the thing, I don't mean to say I'm going to give you the answer. I want to say this is the angle at which I want you to look at this problem. No amount of human life loss should be considered acceptable. Right? We should always consider this a tragedy. I consider traffic accidents in my neighborhood where someone dies a tragedy. I consider floods where someone dies in a hurricane a tragedy. I consider someone who gets killed by a ice pick as it's flying through the air because somebody was doing a freak accident at a snow sculpting tournament a tragedy. Death is not okay that we just allow to happen. We should act to mitigate that death. But we as a country have become so immune to the reality that people are just going to be wiped out by other Americans. Like, we're just going to kill each other sometimes. That happens. I heard someone say she was not American. She was a European looking at America and said they shoot each other from the roofs. They just do. I was like, we don't. They don't do that. Yes, they do. Technically we do. I don't even know how to argue that. I look at London and I see that they eat fish and chips and they put vinegar on all of their food. I look at China and I see that they make very small electronic things with slave labor. I look at America and we shoot children and old people and we have snipers on roofs just killing people. Like, that's how we quantify our lives. Right now, the ambulance is running past this studio. Please, God, let them safely arrive and let them do their job well. All right. Whew, I'm calm. There's plenty of things to talk about, including refugees. I want to talk a lot about refugees today. We're going to de-stress. Woosa. Woosa. There is a number. 65 million. That is a 1/5 of the entire United States population. 65 million is the number of refugees fleeing countries because of human rights violations, war, sexual abuse, or environmental devastation, such as hurricanes, flooding, things like that. We have 65 million refugees running from somewhere. Now, this number is important to me because it's a big number. I think a lot of times when we think of it's the refugee crisis, they're coming from Israel trying to go to Palestine. They're coming from Iraq trying to get to Qatar. Like, refugees are people who are leaving one place, going someplace else, but they're fleeing. There is a problem. The United States has a moral responsibility to help fleeing people be safe. We do. You do. People ask me, how do I justify this? How do we justify saying we have a moral responsibility to keep people from being massacred by soldiers as they walked? I was doing research on this earlier today. I was going to show some pictures, but they're all copyrighted, and I didn't want to violate the law because it's crazy out there. But I was watching pictures of Nigerians who were being strung up. They took a pole, like just a wooden stick, and they took wire like a coat hanger, and they wrapped it around this boy's elbows. So he's tied up behind his arms, and they wrapped wire around his ankles, and they hung him up to this post, and he just hung. He just hung on this post. And the article said that they would hang people for days and days as punishment. They would just do this. Countries all over the world, people are being tortured, people are being killed. The population Rohingya, they are being not only killed and murdered, they're being raped. These people just want to get away. They just want to be free. They don't even want to be in America. They want to go home to a safe place. Now, the United States, seeing this global turmoil, we have a lovely and wonderful advantage, is that we are not connected directly to the rest of the world, right? We have two oceans on both of our sides. We have this little bump we have with Canada, called our border, and this littler bump that we have with Mexico, also called a border. But we don't touch any other countries, and no other countries can really get to us without coming through what we want them to come through. And so as a safe place, we can provide, as a safer place, he says, after having just talked about massacres in our schools. But honestly, as a safer place, we're not a war zone. We have capacity. We can feed them. We have shelter. We have food. We have places where there are less violence. I think that we have a moral responsibility, since we benefit so much off of the global economy. We leverage very strong trade agreements, and we negotiate so that our barriers are higher here and lower over there. We make bank. I wake up and I go to Whole Foods. I'm wearing a vest on the radio, on the vodcast. Are we calling this a vodcast? A vlog? Maybe? What is this? We have all of these advantages in our nation. And then I can look outside and go, hey, we should help these people who need a temporary place to stay. Puerto Rico got devastated. I talk about this a lot. It's still hurting. We have officially cut off food and aid to Puerto Rico, even though half the island is still without food or power. Hooray. We've let them suffer. Now, that's just American citizens. These are our people in our own states. We can let them come to the United States, to the mainland, and we can help them negotiate. There's services that are provided. There's educational opportunities, right? We know that these people are hurting. We know that there are options that are being provided. And it is a humanitarian thing to provide that. Whether or not we do it is a question about our morals as a country. But it's there, we have capacity, and we can. But as just a size of our population, there are countries in Europe with, 50 or 60 million people who are taking in more refugees than we do, with 350 million people. We don't want them here. And that's a shame. We have people fleeing from war, and we're locking our doors saying, please don't come here. You're gross. You smell bad. You're ugly. We don't want you. We should be ashamed. I think so. There are so many other problems, though, right? I guess me talking about refugees is shooting for the moon, because we already have Americans sitting right here at home who are not being taken care of. Speaking of which, have you guys read about the new DACA ruling? It's not a ruling. It's a failure of the Senate to pass any kind of DACA legislation. For those of you who have not, DACA is the program that allowed people who, if you were a child and your parents brought you over the border running from war or famine, and you arrived here as a child, you didn't break any laws. We're gonna let you figure out what to do legally. We're gonna work with you. Sign up. We're coming up with a plan. Well, President canceled that. He said no plan. The Supreme Court said you can't just cancel that. We made a promise. We're America. You have to follow our promise. And they went, fine. So the Democrats said, all right, here's a plan. This is what we want. January 29th, 28th, something like that, 29th. The government shut down because they couldn't come to an agreement on the DACAs. And they just passed the buck to February 8th. Now, at that time, I was upset. I knew that they would pass the buck. And in fact, they passed the buck. And that buck, once they passed it, I knew that they would never pass anything because they gave up their one lever of power. And indeed, February 8th comes around and they drop all DACA talks from the negotiations. Well, we have until March. We have until March. Fine. Sure you do. Today, the Senate had 4 bills, 4 laws that were possible to solve the DACA problem. They were written by people from both parties. It was a bipartisan bill. Everybody agreed to it. Everybody liked it. And the White House said, we're not gonna sign this. We're not gonna sign this. We're not gonna sign this. So if you bring it to me, I'm gonna veto it, which makes it purposeless to sign the bill for anybody to vote for the bill. And so the Republicans, all of them, even though they had not all of them, even though they had come up with a bill themselves, working in conjunction with the Democrats as something that would address the problems of our nation that we could use to fix the lives of over 600,000 people who I want to say are American in every sense, but the fact that they were born somewhere else. They spent their entire lives here. We're going to deport them because one dude is like, I will not sign it. It's bad for the country. It's bad for every aspect of this country. We have people, our friends, our neighbors, the people doing research, the people driving our cars, the people making our food, the people in our schools, our friends, our loved ones, the people we're married to, the people we're dating. These people are going to be deported if you don't do something. I'm asking, Congress is not going to get its act together. I have no faith in them. So what I'm asking is for you as a person, make some noise. Make some angry, evil, fighting noise. And let them know that there will be hell to pay if they go around hurting our colleagues, our friends, our neighbors, our loved ones. This is not Nazi Germany, where you can just randomly go into buildings, pluck people you don't want, and throw them in detention centers. You can't go into courthouses while people are following the law and arrest them and deport them. We will not stand for this. We're going to make a change. We're going to make a change. In good news, a court ruled that undocumented immigrants who are being detained in ICE facilities, that's Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE facilities have the right to sue the federal government over violation of the 8th Amendment? I believe it's the 8th Amendment. I just made that up. It's the one where we're not allowed to do forced labor of prisoners. Indentured servitude or slavery. So what's going on? There's a class action suit being filed by 60,000 prisoners who say they have not done anything wrong. They are being arbitrarily detained, and they are being forced to work for a for-profit corporation and make them money, or they are being put in solitary confinement. They're being withheld food. They are being tortured. They are being punished. So they're suing. My God, I love litigation. This is why I love litigation, okay? Because you can bring a problem to the forefront in a way that you cannot just complaining, all right? If I had an issue and somebody was mad at me and I decided to go out and yell at them, they're going to yell back and nothing's going to get happened. If I yell at them and they're the federal government, they're absolutely not going to listen to me. If I file a lawsuit and that lawsuit moves forward, alleging that you violated the Constitution, we are going to have some fun because I'm going to be on equal footing and we are going to do the dance of the litigators. And one of us at the end of that is going to be right. And when you are torturing innocent people, and you're putting them in solitary confinement, and you are denying them food, I feel like they have a pretty good argument against you. I can't wait to see how it plays out. I expect it to play out better than a lot of the arguments with police and guns, simply because the police have written laws that allow them to be immune from certain types of things, to do certain types of things. Did you know that in 35 states, it's not illegal to arrest someone and then have sex with them? In 35 states, I can arrest you. If I was a police officer, I can arrest you, take you into the back room, and then have consensual sex with you. Now, I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to see what the police do with consent. For example, hi, I don't consent for you to open up my car door or the trunk of my car, and then you get shot. Or, hi, I don't consent for you to come into my house, and then you get shot. I can't imagine being in custody, arrested, having a police officer say, let's have some sex now. And you were like, you know what, officer? I refuse to consent to this. The least thing that they are worried about is your consent. Come off it. Come off it. 40% of police wives report domestic abuse. Come off it. Whatever. I'm done. It's fine. I'm not harping on anybody specifically. We need to change some laws. That's all I'm saying. We need to fix some things. You can work with me and fix this, right? If you arrest someone, you can detain them, but you can't have sex with them. And you can have sex with someone if it's consensual, but if you do, you can't kidnap them. That's illegal. You can't do both. You can do one or the other. Actually, you can never arrest someone and then have sex with them. Just ever. Just that's a no. That should be a no-brainer. 35 states, it's okay. I'm done. All right. Ooh, I'm going to tell you a joke. Because it's a great joke. It's told me by Mr. Jerry Clower from back in the day. Jerry Clower was a good old boy from Yazoo, Mississippi. He was a comedian and the Grand Ole Opry star. So if you are familiar with Jerry Clower, he said one day he was coming back home after a long trip out, and Aunt Pate Ledbetter came up and said, Jerry, Uncle Versy's been in the courthouse. He's in trial. They're going to arrest him for lying to the police. They said, what? He's never lied a day in his life. They said, you're going to arrest him because he lied to the police. And so he went down there to see what was going on, and the trial was in procession. And the attorney says, at the scene of the accident, there was an accident. He said, at the scene of the accident, You told the officer that there was nothing wrong with you. But now you are suing this gentleman for pain and suffering and a broken leg. Can you explain to me which was true, then or now? Which is a fair question. It's a fair question. And so he said, yes, sir, I can. He said, well, I'm driving down the road, and coming at me is this truck carrying all these cows, all this livestock, and I get run off the road, and he gets run off the road, and it's madhouse. Well, blood, cows, me, cars, everything. I'm lying in the ditch, just moaning and broken leg and bleeding everywhere. And then I hear the sheriff come down and is talking to the driver, who happens to be okay. That cow down there, what's wrong with him? He says, looks like he's got a broken leg, sir. Sheriff pulls out his gun, blam! Shoots him. What's wrong with that cow over there? Looks like he's got a broken leg. Blam! Shoots him. Keeps going down the line. Blam! Blam! Gets old Mr. Ledbetter. Mr. Ledbetter, is that you? Yes, sir. What's wrong with you? He says, gun in hand. He says, absolutely nothing. And that is why he is suing after the fact and not in the moment. Friends, be safe out there. We're going to have a lot of fun. 36 Nation Radio. I'm going to go to commercial. We're going to come back in just a few moments. A lot of exciting things. We're going to calm it down. We're going to talk some spice and love. DC, there's a lot of things happening. Spring is in the air. Valentine's Day has come and gone. And now we can look forward to the greatest holiday of them all, 36 Nation Anniversary. We'll be right back.
Come on, hustle, 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 hustle. Get your head in the game. Come on.
Are you setting the right example for your kids?
Are you even trying? The ball's down there. What are you doing? You need to get some confidence.
Come on, hustle up, get up there.
Reviewing last year, ad revenue has declined 15%.
Come on, get your head on straight.
Before your child's next game, ask yourself, how would you like it if they copied your behavior?
There are many ways which we can improve.
That's for sure. You need to get some confidence.
Positive Coaching Alliance has valuable tips and tools to help our kids perform their best while keeping sports enjoyable for everyone. Their development zone is a great resource for parents like us. Positive Coaching Alliance, creating better athletes, better people. Learn more at positivecoach.org/Fox Sports.
I love how USAA gives me the peace of mind and the security just like the Marines did. At one point I did change to a different company with car insurance and I was not happy with the customer service. We have switched back over and we feel like we're back home now.
The process through USAA is so effortless that you feel like you're a part of the family.
I love that I can pass a membership to my children and that they can be protected. We're the Williams family and we're USAA members for life.
Call USAA today to talk about your insurance needs.
I love how USAA...
If you can play, you can play.
If you can play,
You can play.
If you can play, you can play.
We are all
champions.
We are all
Red Hawks.
Red Hawk
For life.
Our staff, coaches, and student athletes welcome students of all races, religions, genders, sexual orientation, and national origin. We advocate and support the LGBTQ community.
We play.
Together.
We win together.
If you can play,
You can play.
At Montclair State University, if you can play, you can play.
if you can play, you can play.
If you can play, you can play.
It's about respect. Respect for our teammates, respect for our fans, and respect for our game.
It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from. On this team, we're a family. Racist, sexist, and homophobic language have no place on our team.
We pledge to make our locker room a safe place for everyone.
No matter your race, religion, or whether you are straight or gay, if you can play, you can play.
Come on, hustle. Get your head in the game. Come on.
Are you setting the right example for your kids?
Are you even trying? The ball's down there. What are you doing? You need to get some confidence.
Come on, hustle up, get up there.
Reviewing last year, ad revenue has declined 15%.
Come on, get your head on straight.
Before your child's next game, ask yourself, how would you like it if they copied your behavior?
There are many ways which we can improve.
That's for sure. You need to get some confidence.
Positive Coaching Alliance has valuable tips and tools to help our kids perform their best while keeping sports enjoyable for everyone. Their development zone is a great resource for parents like us. Positive Coaching Alliance, creating better athletes, better people. Learn more at positivecoach.org/Fox Sports.
Hold on to your butts, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on. Here's something that I don't want you to do. I do not want you to react. I want you to respond. Responses are thoughtful, they are purpose-driven, they are calculated, and they are effective. Reactions are the involuntary happenings to a stimulus. Somebody says something and I slap him. That's a reaction. That's not a response. Last week, actually, it was Tuesday. God, the week, everything moves so fast. Everything moves so fast, and I can't. Last week, Mr. Jefferson Beauregard Sessions addressed himself in a meeting of sheriffs and deputies and wanted to talk about the great Anglo-American legal tradition of which voting for your local sheriffs has been a mainstay and a part. The interwebs blew the F up, okay? And I understand why. Anything Jeff Sessions talks about with Anglo-American sounds a little, it's not the right time, right? If I heard the NCAA stood for National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, I got a little, right? Because, like, what is this, 1921? Like, Jeff Sessions talking about Anglo-American just rubs me that same kind of, I bet you do. Here's the thing, though. Everybody reacted, and everybody just dropped their load of awful onto the internet without giving it thought. So I want to give you guys some thought as to what happened, what was going down. Number one, Anglo-American legal tradition is what our legal tradition is founded on. And the only reason we talk about Anglo-American is because the American legal tradition is still really much based in the European common law. It goes back older than that. If we talked about, like, where does this whole thing about voting for your representatives come from? And somebody's like, well, that's a Greek democratic ideal. Like, okay, we're not talking about Greece. But you got to give credit where credit is due, right? We can talk about the great legal principles of, like, a participation in your government, hashtag Magna Carta. Or we can talk about equal representation. Or we can talk about the legislative ability to ask for taxes and to regulate that, and the property rights of the individual. Those aren't American ideals. Those go back a lot longer. Those go back to English common law, which is great. And it's good because if they're just something that we made up like 50 years ago or 100 years ago, they have no real basis in history. But they don't. They go back way, 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 way back. But when Mr. Jeff Sessions talks about them with his little southern drawl and his neo-Nazi leanings, And forgive me, don't let me attribute neo-Nazi leanings to Mr. Sessions without the proper caveats, okay? He said that he was in favor of the Ku Klux Klan down the line until he found out that they use marijuana, and then he had no truck with them. Oh, yes, sir. So he's not on my happy list, is what I'm saying. But Mr. Jeff Sessions talking about the legal tradition as Attorney General is in fact what he is supposed to do. It's not a form of dog whistling, and it's not a form of subtle messaging. It's an accurate statement, but it's also trolling. I don't have to say everything that I think. I don't have to say everything. I don't have to say most things I think. It sounds like I do sometimes. I don't. This speech and what he said was as heated and as controversial as it is. No one, except for maybe Dove Body Wash, could have missed a racial trigger that blatant. Even if you listen to him, he's talking. He stutters right before he says it, right? Well, my good friend, Miriam Anderson, and my good cheese, and my good friends, and the Anglo-American way. Like, he pauses. Like, there's a stutter step where he recognizes that, oh, this sounds weird. And he keeps going. Now, I don't know if that's because this is the first time he's heard that phrase out loud since, the beginning of 2018, or if it's because he knows what he's about to do and he's doing it, but he doesn't like it. Whatever it is, he knows that he is dropping this hot, steaming pile of internet tweetdom, and he is letting us have it. And we, as the internet, as the world, respond in kind. What did we do? What did we do? Everything blew up. Every news media cycle was consumed by this story. The reason I think it's purposeful, the reason I think it's trolling, is because over those 24 hours, over the Valentine's Day that was the Jeff Sessions mess, we did not talk about what the Senate was trying to do. We did not talk about Donald Trump's sex scandals. We did not talk about the immigrants that are trying to come in here and the gun deaths that are happening, and that kind of overshadowed a little bit. But we talked about this. There are articles talking about the backlash and the backlash of the backlash. I want to stop. Calm down. Here's a good rule of thumb as to when you should react. 1, do they know that they're being racist? If the answer is yes, calling them a racist is not going to do anyone anything. That's like calling me black. You can do that, but I don't know what the argument is, and you're just going to be very upset if you yell it, and you're very mad about that. Everybody accepts this premise, okay? If they already know that they're a problem, they're not going to change anything. They love the thing that they are. They're just going to do it. If they don't know, if you think like, maybe he doesn't realize that this is a thing, then you need to respond and talk to him and say, hey, Mr. Sessions, you realize how that sounded. It sounded like you were just calling for a reinstatement of a European ethno-state and legal systems, especially with the sheriff's departments historically beating and murdering black people. It's just a weird thing to say right now. And he goes, well, I guess that makes sense when you put it that way. I'm Jefferson Beauregard Sessions, and I approve this message. He could do that, right? We can have these conversations. If you think that he doesn't know, you can have that conversation. If you think that he knows and he's doing it on purpose, reacting and calling him a racist is not what you should do. What you need to do is figure out what his purpose is. What is he distracting from? What is he trying to drive you away from? What is he trying to occupy your mind with instead of the thing? You know what I'm saying. He's blindsiding you with some bull. So what was the thing then? What should we be looking for? I will tell you, after an extensive 24-hour search of the news of the day, I found something worth covering up. Would you like to hear what it is? These are the things that I'm really excited about. 48 hours. The GOP. The GOP has 4 convicted felons running for office in the U.S. The ACLU sues over the halt to the abortion law that Ohio tried to pass, banning abortions of people with Down syndrome because it's unconstitutional, apparently. The flu is killing everyone. Rural graduates, white rural Americans, are graduating from high school and not going to college. Teen pregnancy funding has been shut down. The president's trying to shut down the National Endowment of the Arts. The president shut down pregnancy issues, but he wants to spend $50 million for a parade. Yay. A lot of things. There's a lot of things in the world. Borneo has lost 100,000 monkeys. These are just things that are happening today. It's just the world. It's just where we live. Okay, I'm not going to give you a litany of all of the news. I'm going to give you one very beautiful, very exciting piece of information. And I did not look this up. I didn't tell you about this, but can you look up and see if you can find me an image of fake Kim Jong-un? This is the best story. I want to read this to you. So Kim Jong-un, our great and glorious leader of North Korea, who is, according to the president, both little and a man, which is, they have something in common. Very excited. Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, has not left the Hermit Kingdom, apparently ever, I don't think. But his sister went down to South Korea and made a big splash in the Olympics, which is really nice. She shook hands with people. She sat right behind Vice President Pence, who didn't say a word. She went to the South Korean president, invited her for a coffee and donuts over at the house back in North. All of the things, like friends do. But then, lo and behold, the great Kim Jong-un appears himself at the Olympics. He showed up right in front of a group of North Korean cheerleaders, the kind of cheerleaders who are executed if they mess up. Very exciting things. Everybody was very confused for like 2 moments until they realized it was a North Korean Kim Jong-un impersonator. Do you have this picture? Yes, no? Not a problem. The thing about a Kim Jong-un is he looks like a boss from an old 90s video game, okay? He's big and he's round and he's incredibly sprightly for someone who is that big and that round. He's got the short haircut that makes him look like, I don't know, a 13-year-old girl whose parents just shave the head because they hate her. Yeah, like that. Like, oh. The great and glorious leader. He does not look pleased. My friends, anybody can pull that look off. You can do it. Apparently, it's the most popular look in North Korea right now. Everybody wants the un. But impersonator comes and makes a big splash at the Olympics. No one was pleased. It was all sorted out. The cheerleaders were not executed, thank God. The North Korean athletes have been doing surprisingly well at living, which is really great. I'm excited. I know. Do you know they have worms? They have hook problems. They don't get food. They are getting executed. The only worse athletic treatment that I have ever heard, I'm not going to say the NFL. Stop this. I'm not going there. That's mean. The only worst athletic treatment I've ever heard was the Iranian national soccer team that was executed after they lost in the World Cup. That's harsh, right? That is an international sports thing. I don't think we should allow dictators to send teams to sporting events. They shouldn't be allowed. We did. Listen, You know what? Also on sports news, Larry Nassar, we've all heard, hashtag the Olympics, hashtag protect our children. The Olympics has led to so many exciting revelations in the world, but my favorite is Dianne Feinstein from California introduced a piece of legislation making every single athlete in the Olympics, every trainer, every parent, every coach, and every official a mandatory reporter. Now, for those of you who are in the social work field, you know what I'm talking about. If someone comes to you and says, "Hi, my teacher has been," they have to tell the police. If they don't, if I did not as a teacher, I am liable for punishment. I can go to jail as well. And this actually puts a year of prison for not reporting within 24 hours of known sexual abuse. Hooray. I am very pleased with this. Number one, I don't think we need to change the laws that we have. We need to expand the liability, right? We want to protect kids. Why do we allow loopholes to exist where people can not protect kids? We just take those loopholes away. Protect the kids. Did somebody say that they've been raped by their doctor? Tell the police. Do it every time. You have to do it every time. You're a mandated reporter now. Congratulations. Save the kids. I think that's a great thing. She actually brought this piece of legislation a year ago after speaking with the eight of the victims of Larry Nassar, and got together. They said they told her their stories. She says, "Wow, we got to do something about this." Crafts a piece of legislation, proposed it, and got ignored until apparently some shenanigans went down and some lawsuits happened, and now the Olympics are going, and everybody's like, "Hey, how do we protect our kids?" So sometimes it takes a little nudge to get the ball rolling, but the ball has been rolled, and this is a good thing. We have a breakdown of what I like to call patriarchal society, right? We have institutions that allow for rape, institutions that allow for the breakdown and the subjugation of families, the institutions that are attacking people for not following and conforming to weird gender norms, to weird cultural norms, to weird ethnocentric European values. A lot of things that have been created in this system are coming to a head, and we are attacking them. And I don't mean to quote one of my good friends, Mr. Stephen Q. Bannon. Is that his middle name? Is his middle name Q? Can you look that up for me? Research is researching. Stephen Q. Bannon said, "The anti-patriarchy wave is going to hurt, is going to very, very much hurt Donald Trump." K, Q, K, it's all the same. Donald Q. Stephen Q. Bannon. He says the anti-patriarchal movement is going to be a serious threat to all things wholesome and Republican, because you've built your entire platform and you've built your entire worldview on this outdated model, which has been destroying people. So we're going to fight it. Yes. He is accurate, and I like it when he is accurate because he's good at being evil. Give credit where credit is due. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We've got like 2 minutes left. I love everybody here. 3-6 Nation, if you have been following us, I love you. If you haven't, I hate you. Go away. We'll be back.
Come on, hustle. Get your head in the game. Come on.
Are you setting the right example for your kids?
Are you even trying? The ball's down there. What are you doing? You need to get some confidence.
Come on, hustle up, get up there.
Reviewing last year, ad revenue has declined 15%.
Come on, get your head on straight.
Before your child's next game, ask yourself, how would you like it if they copied your behavior?
There are many ways which we can improve.
That's for sure. You need to get some confidence.
Positive Coaching Alliance has valuable tips and tools to help our kids perform their best while keeping sports enjoyable for everyone. Their development zone is a great resource for parents like us. Positive Coaching Alliance, creating better athletes, better people. Learn more at positivecoach.org/Fox.
Friends, I want to close out today with a little endorsement of my absolute favorite new television show on Netflix, Katano, the Sweet-Toothed Salaryman. Not lying. This is the greatest show ever invented in the history of the world. And Japan, I just want us to give you a hug because it's okay, buddy. You can get through this. Katano, the Sweet-Toothed Salaryman, is about this guy. He is the hardworking corporate drone, if you will, that wants to be the best at his job, right? He's a salesman. He goes door to door doing sales. But the thing is, he does not care about his job at all. He does it because if he does his job well and efficiently, then he can stop at the cities that he visits and have sweets from these very exotic restaurants. And so the whole show, it's like a scripted, it's like not quite a sitcom, it's more like a Korean drama. It's a whole show about this guy who works really, really hard at his day job so that he can go to restaurants and then eat like dessert. And then he does this 15 minutes of the show is like him working, and then he finally gets there, and it's this surreal, like, giant peaches are falling at him, and he's dancing through Peachland. He's like, I love it, everything is great. And he's like transcendent. It's and there's like orgasms, and then like one of the girls in his office is onto him because she thinks that he's skipping work and she wants to get him fired, but actually she also has a sweet tooth addiction and she follows his blog, but she doesn't know it's his blog. And so it's crazy. Guys, watch this show. If there is one thing that you can take from today, 3-6 Nation, it is Katano, the Sweet-Tooth Salaryman, is the show that you have been craving. From all of us here at WLVS Radio, for Monica Livingston, for Washington, D.C., and on behalf of the United States Congress and the Senate, 3-6 Nation Radio is love you to pieces. See you next week. Out!